see you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليه. Jazakumullah khair once again for tuning in. We hope that you guys are benefiting from this show, and we are trying our best to bring in dynamics and to bring in different subjects, and also just trying to our almost best to even hopefully inshallah in the future bring in more different guests and more variety of people, professionals in their own respected fields. So today we've picked a topic, are we all addicts? And the reason why we picked that was because we obviously people have general understanding of what an addict is. And most of us just believe that, if you're addicted to cocaine, that's an addict. Or if you're addicted to heroin, or if you're addicted to drugs, that are illegal. But there are many different forms of addictions. And some of them are, legal. And some of them are obviously, goes without saying, illegal. But the question is, for me, is which ones are acceptable? First of all, let me just take this cup out the way. I think it's just a bit distracting. Some of them
bro.
Some of them are, we might, for instance, are some addictions acceptable just because they're legal, just because they're not a crime. It's not a crime to be having certain type of addictions. Is it acceptable? Is it morally okay to be addicted to, say, for instance, PlayStation? Is it fine to be addicted to movies? Is it fine to be addicted to alcohol? These type of addictions do exist, and from young and old. And the question is it fine? Is it okay? Now, obviously, some of them from an Islamic perspective are halal, and sometimes some of them are haram. But what we need to understand is what should be the compass to guide ourselves through that, and what kind of solutions are there available if a person is struggling with the addictions that need to be addressed and sorted. Once again, we've got the one and only Papa Doc. Oh, sugar, that's from 8 Mile movie, bro. We got Maulana Saab, Maulana Muhammad Imran, Imran Muhammad, and he's with us once again. He's going to shed light on the topic. He's going to Nooran ala Noor. He's going to shed light upon light with his presence, with his knowledge. Take it, bro. Wobble, and drop it like it's hot.
Bro, are you high?
Listen. We were talking about, because the topic's about addiction, I thought, listen, I'm going to have to get into my zone, you know what I mean?
Drop it like it's hot. Allah khair kare. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan, ahlan beek. Welcome to everybody. Welcome, Safman. Allah give you strength, inshallah ta'ala. I hope your these 8 fasts that have gone by have been really good for you, inshallah ta'ala.
Man, one third has gone past by, man. A third of Ramadan has gone, man.
It's flown, man. It's flown. Wallah, it's flown. This is the thing about this particular guest, isn't it? It comes and it leaves very
like
quickly.
It's gone. And for me, it's like, I don't know about yourself, I just kind of like think, okay, Now, whatever I've done so far, you see, now we're in the deep of Ramadan. You know, some people, they're still waiting for that day of Ramadan where it kicks in. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Some people are still waiting for that day of Ramadan. Right, you know what? I'm going to start reading Quran. I'm going to start, right, you know what? I said tomorrow on the 10th. But listen, look, you know what I mean? Ramadan's kicked in. It's in. We are full on Ramadan now. And, you know, I just kind of assess myself and I just think, you know what? You know, it could be better. It could be better. And, but, you know, there's no, a lot of people kind of like give themselves taps on the, you know, a tap on the back. Well done. Shabashi meri. You know, I've done well. And I think that's a bit of sometimes a dangerous place to be in. You know what I mean? To be content with yourself. And so, but I was just thinking about myself, man. I was just thinking, you know what, man, 1/3 of Ramadan is already gone. You know what I mean? And I personally think this year, it has to be different because there's all of this, you know, seclusion and, you know, isolation and all this and that. You got less distractions. All of those things are there. This year, it's like one of the teachers saying that, you know, you have to come out. Like some people this year are going to come out as soldiers, like spiritual soldiers. They're going to come out.
30 days of itikaf, bro.
Pardon? Exactly.
It's like 30 days, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I just think they're fleeting. They're going fast. And, you know, inshallah, we do well in them, man. How are yours been? Have they been all right, yeah?
They've been good, alhamdulillah, with the grace of God Almighty.
You've lost weight, bro.
Balance.
You've lost weight, bro.
No, I haven't. I wish I did. But Allah give you barakah.
I would.
Allah put sweetness into your mouth even more. Alhamdulillah. And my brother, look, alhamdulillah, wa salatu ala habib Muhammad Rasulullah. Look, you know, see, I see Ramadan, because coincidentally when we said, are we all addicts, yeah? You know, I mean, this is something I think which is very crucial to look at. Because it's somewhere, somehow, all of us have our vices. There are things that we become a bit fixated with and things that we can't live without. You understand? Because if you look at the basic definition, what addiction is, yeah, bro, you know, it's simply like not having control, overdoing, taking or using something to the point where it could it can be immensely harmful. Do you know what I'm saying? One becomes consumed, yeah, bro, and life is taken over by the addiction.
That's it.
That's what it is. Now, it could be anything, you know. It could be, I don't know, eating too much, for example. That's all what you do. Do you understand? Or watching too much YouTube clips or something. Do you understand? It overtakes everything. So that is the greatest priority in your life. So one of the key things see, when I look at Ramadan, my bro, it works very well with the topic today as well. Because I see Ramadan as a process of detoxification, rehabilitation. That's how I see it as. You know, I came across a hadith Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which said that awwaluhu rahmah, that the first part or the first 10 days is of mercy, right? Then the next 10 days is of forgiveness, and the last 10 days is of itkum min nari. Now, you know, throughout our discussion, conversation, you know, dialogue that we have here, bro, we'll touch on some aspects of rehabilitation, how people can get help and support and stuff like that. But the thing is, Ramadan itself is like that. Because the first 10 days about, you know what, you get yourself into a bit of a mood, you just about get used to, you know, fasting. Your body is, you know, going through a slightly difficult process of not eating at particular times and not sleeping at particular times, and, you know, whatever it is doing all of that. But by calling it mercy, that means Allah Ta'ala is giving us free hold at this moment. Because what he's saying is, acknowledge your situation, understand your situation. There are things in you for the last 11 months that you've been doing, the first 10 days leave an impact. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You feel it. Like, it takes me about 3 to 4 days, my whole body, my system to go, you know what, I could do this now, inshallah. That's what it is. Some people, it takes longer.
You know, it's like for me, you know, during the year, I'm going to, listen, man, you know me, you know, some of these talk shows, man, they've been quite deep. They go really deep. Last time I told you about my Paranta situation, yeah? And yes. This time I'm going to tell you another situation. Man's hooked on grilled chicken, yeah? You know, during the year, bro, what can I say? Uncles, bro. If anyone's from Oldham, they know what I mean when I say uncles. That's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
I can't give obviously too much out there. But so the thing is, this year basically I've had no meat. This year
Oh wow.
basically no meat at all. No, nothing fried, nothing, no fizzy. I have a problem with fizzy drinks as well, and not a problem. It's not like I don't start craving at night. But what I'm saying is, you know what I mean? Like, I always said that, I'm not gonna have no fizzy drinks, and I end up, having one too many type of thing, yeah. And but this year it's been no fizzy drinks, no fried food, no meat. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Until obviously,
where are you
inshallah.
going? Are you gonna go vegetarian? Or are you gonna go vegan? Which one are you choosing here?
Listen, it depends what day. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
okay.
And then some other day I'm just gonna go reptile, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
Allah give you strength,
and
inshallah ta'ala. Allah give you
but
barakah, bismillah ta'ala.
yeah. So it is being. And one thing you mentioned about the first 3 points of the first three, the 3 divisions of Ramadan, mercy. You know what dawned upon me just yesterday? Yeah, it's like subhanallah. Like, first is mercy, then it's forgiveness, and then it's emancipation from hellfire. And it's like it's amazing, bro, because it's like, as if, look, mercy. Who do you show mercy to? Someone who you got love for, yeah. Someone you show mercy to someone that you got love for. You got love for, but and when do you show mercy? When they fault. You think
Correct.
Malish, man. Don't worry about it, man. You my boy, yeah. You know what I mean? You think cool. That's mercy. But then not all of us are that close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that sense. Our actions are we're not the ones who are close. The game, like you want to call muqarrabun. We're not those people. Yeah. And then it's forgiveness. So it's like one less of a degree. Okay, you're not really close, but you're slipping. You're slipping, you're falling. I can't get up. Yeah. You're having a bit of a hard time. Forgiveness for them. But then it's the last 10 days, emancipation from hellfire, which is amazing because it's almost as if now those 10 days are those for those people who are like damned to hell. Those people who feel like as if it's the end of the road for them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has dedicated days for those people. So we've just lost Sheikh Saab for a minute. So what I'm gonna do, so inshallah he'll be back on soon. So that's what for me it's a very interesting process throughout Ramadan that you start with the first 10 days, which is mercy, and then the next 10 days, which is forgiveness, and then the last 10 days, which is emancipation from hellfire, like to take people out of hellfire. And that is an amazing gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So today's topic, what we chose was addiction, and it looks like he's just having some internet problems, but he'll be back soon, inshallah. And so we want. So what Sheikh Saab is going to speak about, Mullah Saab is going to speak about, will be, the different aspects of addictions, the different types of addiction there are, and then we will move on to some, how to recognize those addictions, and then also there's some of the science behind addictions as well, and then solutions. We'll try to give some real life solutions, because it's not easy, and it's not a one-time fix. Some people need to get professional help. Some people just need to refocus. So inshallah we'll speak about that. I'm just waiting for him to come back. I don't know where he's gone. I mean, if I was him, I'll just get a couple of biscuits on the way back if I was him. But so anything trending lately, guys? Anything that before, just while we're waiting for Maulana Saab, anything that you would want the shows us to talk about in the coming weeks? Inshallah, this show will continue on after Ramadan, but we are going to try to focus on trending topics for during Ramadan also. So Just waiting for him to come back. So first and foremost, I think I'm gonna have to take the fault, guys. So apologies for this. You know, what you see, one thing I would want to say is obviously there might be some people who actually suffer from addictions themselves. And for me, addiction has been always interesting because I know people personally who have, suffered from addictions, and I've seen the effects of that. I've seen the results of that in their life and how it's panned out for them. And it's not good. It's not good. And addiction is one of those things that you have to catch it early if you can and seek help. And but one thing's amazing for me is, everything has to go back to the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to start off with. It always has to go back in the life of the Prophet. And then you would find Sahaba, you will find companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam who, experience such things. And you would think that, Kaif, like how, like some people, it may shock them to know that there were some Sahaba who did have problems with drinking. There was some Sahaba who did have problems with, like alcohol. Remember, alcohol was a big thing before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited it. Just 1 second, I think he's come back, the man himself. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan.
Brother, where did you go?
Doesn't matter, I've come back. That's fine.
Yeah, don't leave me alone like that, bro. It gets very lonely here, bro.
Allah give you barakah.
I had to take on everybody by myself. And,
Allah give you strength, inshallah. Allah give you barakah.
But I managed, I managed. I don't think
Allah give you strength, bro.
I don't think we need you. I'm only joking.
I agree with you, anyway. I agree with you. Alhamdulillah, Allah give you barakah, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. So, Akhil Aziz,
what are you saying?
I forget what I was saying. Yes, it's gone out of my head. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad barak sallim. Now, of course, you're talking about, are we all addicts? That's what we need to keep in mind. Now, you're going to say, why we've chosen to talk about this because we all have something which we become very asphyxiated with. Something that's part of our life, something that takes over, consumes us. Do you understand? And that's something that we need to keep in mind. The different aspect, different element is not only those people who sniff, who use syringes or who use particular type of substances, that they are the addicts in the world. They're not. The truth is, all of us have something that consumes us. That's the reality of that situation. Yeah. Now the thing is, addiction itself, bro, is complicated. Right? To a certain extent, as human beings, as individuals, we become somehow, some way, something will overtake us. Now, for example, now we live in times where the internet is a massive part of our lives, right? In our phones, in our tablets, in our laptops, on our TVs. We are like this. If we can't, I know young people, wallahi, I know young people who the first thing, they walk into a shop, they walk into a coffee shop, they walk into supermarket, whatever it is, you got Wi-Fi. Could I have the Wi-Fi password, please? It's like
Pehle ta salam ta de. You mean give
exactly.
salam first? Oh,
yeah.
Are you going to water?
No, there's reason behind that. There's a massive reason behind that, because what it is that, right? Or this sense of, encouragement is created in your body to go and seek something out. Then you have opioids. I'm going about all big chemical here.
Before you go into that, yeah, can you define to me what is an addiction?
Yeah, an addiction simply is that not having the control over doing, taking, or using something, right, to the point where it could be harmful to you.
So what is
harmful meaning?
Is a harmful a condition?
Yeah, it's a part of that. What harmful meaning? What? It overtakes everything. You can't live without it. You need that hit. You need, for example, you need that ping. You need that bell. You need that, like. You need that. You feel that you need that to exist.
What if it's not harmful for you? Is it still considered as an addiction?
For example,
some people smoking marijuana, smoking weed, yeah, uh, even though on paper what they say is it does cause an addiction, but for some people it relaxes them. You know, it's I'm not, and obviously it's haram. But what I'm saying is, I'm just working on your definition here. That if a person claims that, listen, this is not harmful, I'm alright with it. You mean I'm relaxed with it?
No, but the thing is, the question is, what is harmful? The problem here is people think that something which has an adverse effect upon the body, that is something which is harmful, right? It gives you some pain, or it harm. For example, a certain illness, etc., is developed within the body. There is long-term research on the likes of marijuana. There's a long-term effects of tobacco, long-term effects of certain type of substances and alcohol and etc. Upon the body. This is long-term. Okay, even e-cigarettes at this moment, people are saying, oh yeah, I'm okay with this, you know what I mean, I'm not getting addicted, nicotine, blah blah blah. But research has been done from America that the liquid that goes in it, people are becoming addicted to that. It's
Now,
an
is that
addiction.
because of
Oh,
is that being, see, there's a difference between habitual and addiction. Addiction can lead to habituality. So a person, when he gets addicted to something, because he becomes habitual to it, it's very difficult to let go of it. Like, it's part of, basically, the difference between addiction, which is, chemical reactions taking place, and then, then another chemical reaction taking place, yearning for that chemical reaction, and then there's a habit as well. Do you understand? Now, something like an e-cig, would you say that's an addiction? Or as in, are there chemicals in e-cig that causes this type of chemical reaction in the brain that leads to this type of yearning for it mentally? Or is it more than a habit that, listen, mentally you're just kind of in this process?
look, look, you got to understand this, that what is in e-cig, which gives you, you feel a satisfaction at that particular time, is the nicotine.
Or is
It's
it
the nicotine within.
like that?
It's the nicotine in that which impacts you. Okay, fine. It's a slightly different substance, but it's the same that is found in tobacco, or which is found in
Nicotine.
this particular.
Nicotine is
Yeah,
addictive.
it's addictive. So that addictive element is already there. No, look, what needs to be understood is this. You got to understand this. There are certain individuals who have understanding about chemicals and how they impact the body and etc. My personal interest around this is, you got to understand, I come from a background where I deal with addicts. I work in environments where I give them support and help. Now, I'm not part of the process of, helping them to go through a process of a chemical, rehabilitation, for example. I'm not there to give them medication or methadone or whatever in the place of heroin. I'm not there to do that. What I am there to do is to give them support and help when they are going through that process of rehabilitation, etc., to give them support and help, see how that process works, etc., etc., etc. Now, I've done this for a number of years in the settings that I work in, the environment that I've worked in. Now, I'm coming from a background of a little bit of know-how of how certain substances have impact upon the body. But because we are talking about, are we all addicts? Because the thing is, one of the biggest problem is, it's so easy for us to point, yeah, look at him, he's out of it completely, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? He's slummed, bro. All of him, he's just buzzing, right? He's high, bro. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Oh, shalabiya, kababiya, oh. It's very, very easy for her to do that. But the thing is, there's traits or elements of what they have within us as well. Do you understand?
Exactly.
But because mine is not a sniff, or mine is not a syringe, because mine is not a, whatever, I think, oh, 1 minute, I'm not the same as the next man. But the thing is, it has the on the chemical part, on the psychological chemical part, composition of this. What you realize is exactly the same. The same type of chemical process is taking place when someone is taking a hit of heroin, or a person who gets a tweet or gets a like. Exactly. This is the research. This is what the research has been done. So you got your texts and your tweets and response and whatever they are. It's exactly the same, right?
The dopamine.
They're the same. The dopamine and the opioids that are developed within the body, which creates, opioids are the one that create pleasure.
Yeah, yeah.
What dopamine does, dopamine creates this sense of, oh, I need to get up and get it. Do you know what I mean? Now, for survival, you got to understand, for survival, this is important.
Yeah.
Dopamine for survival is important, right? It motivates you, it gets you up, and you move forward, right? That's what it does when it's developed. But the thing is, when our problem is this is what we are doing, or what a lot of people tend to do when they become addicted to something, the hit is like this. So after a while, you become
The threshold gets
exhausted.
higher and higher.
It gets higher and higher, and when in extreme situations, you wanna hit every 20 minutes, especially by heroin. Every 20 minutes you want to hit. And now when we are looking at all the research that's coming out regarding contemporary issues of texts and tweets and etc, things like this, we are getting hits instantly. And every single time you get a particular tweet, or every single time you get a like, or every single time you get a response on your Instagram or whatever it is, you go, oh, you feel good, you feel good, you feel
Yeah.
good. What
And the
happened?
worst thing is,
Which is a good state to be in, bro. Let me just say, it's a good state to be in. Problem is, overly, right, being in that state, suddenly we remove that. What will happen to you?
spike down.
You'll be like, oh my god, what are you doing?
My life's crap. I've got no likes.
Yeah.
I've got no follows.
You got nothing. Let me share something with you. You know Fortnite. I don't know if you've heard of Fortnite. Fortnite was targeted as a game. Yeah, it's a game for young children, right?
Yeah.
Between 7 to about 11, 12, 13-year olds, right? It became a massive problem. Those children, because they had not been initially, being measurably given the opportunity to play this game, and it's an online game. They play with their friends and etc. That's what they do, right? Now, what they saw was this sudden change in behavior when the parents stepped in, when the concerned guardian stepped in and said, "1 minute, we need to manage this." The kids they start making every excuse underneath the sun. I've got to do this. I've got to see my friends. I've got to make this. I've got to do that. They were behaving like in a state where they needed that hit. That's how they were behaving like. And you think to yourself, 1 minute, what's going on over here? Because that had consumed them completely and fully. Right? Now, look, bro, man, look, this is why it's important to understand is that addiction, right, is not only based upon, gambling or drugs or alcohol or nicotine, even though these are the things that we associate addiction with. Because addiction, let me ask you this, bro. Let me ask you this. When you're working on something, right, a project, how do you become? What type of person are you? Are you like, I need to finish this before I go and do anything else. I need to get to a conclusion. Are you that type of person? Or are you like, yeah, I'll measure it out and I'll deal with it throughout the day or throughout the weeks?
No, I think once I'm on a project, first, once I'm, what you call in our terminology, you call it once we're in our zone. Once I'm in my zone, I don't see nothing else but that. Do you get me? I don't see
Exactly.
I
So that means
everything else
it consumes you.
Yeah,
It consumes you, doesn't it? Look, that has some positives. The positives of that is that you will get through that particular work quickly as possible, and you will get to a conclusion. Inshallah ta'ala, you will finish your project. But the thing is, a lot of us, and this is predominantly with men and compared to unlike women are slightly different in this, but men have this tendency. Some of us are obsessed with our work, right?
Yeah.
To the extent that we become physically exhausted. I've got, there's some certain colleagues of mine, because they get extra time, right? They take it. What's attracting them? Money, right? Which is fine. It's at the end of it, that's what's been dangled. Yeah, you do extra time, you give more time. You understand? You will get, a certain amount of money. So they hit at the end of it is the dollar, right? Now they are doing time, but they're doing 50 hours, 60 hours, 70 hours, 80 hours. Oh my God, that's madness. And then on top of that, their shifts are all over the place. All right? They are exhausted physically, mentally. But because of that hit, oh, I'm making this much money, £100 a day or something like that. That's how much money I'm making. So for them, that's what's keeping them in. But that consumes them. You get it? So that's a problem. That becomes a problem. Now, how does that become a problem? Your relationships, your family, so social life, your personal life is affected, right? Many of us, we don't go on holidays. We don't have that relaxed time with anybody. And when you look at all of that, guess what? You might be addicted to your work. You might say, 1 minute, I work. So my work pays my bills. But there's no work-life balance.
So it's basically it's consume you. Anything that consumes you, anything that takes over your life.
Yes. There has to be a balance. Bro, look, I'm gonna look. I'm a Muslim, Alhamdulillah, right? Now, our Deen is not. We use certain terms. We go. Our Deen is not gar ke dunya or tar ke dunya.
Yeah, yeah.
Our Deen is not that we completely, drown in the world or we completely leave the world. No, we live in the world, but our hearts and mind reside in the hereafter. Right? That's the balance. That's the spiritual realm that we are from. Right? Now imagine this: if this world overtakes that balance, it creates imbalance, doesn't it? When it takes imbalance, what am I living for? This world. So when this overtakes the balance or imbalances that particular process that's been created for this world and the hereafter, there's a worry. Also the other way around. Look, when the Sahaba Ridwanullah alayhim, one of Hazrat Imam Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Hazrat Zayd bin Haris radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the young Sahaba Ridwanullah alayhim, Allah forgive me if I read this wrong, they saw the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam keeping fasts continuously and praying at night. So do Qiyamul Layl and keeping fasts, alright, continuously. They said, we're going to do the same.
Yeah.
True, innit? They said, we're going to do the same. What did the Prophet say to them? Are you like me?
Yeah.
He didn't he? He goes, are you like me? I can keep the fast, but I can also be with my wives.
Yeah.
Right? I can also do. In other words, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the miracle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The uniqueness of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? That he could do this. But look what he's saying to his companions. You need a balance. You need a balance. Right? Anything that overexerts is a no. And let me share something else with you. Look, purpose of Sharia, yeah? We talk about maqasid al-Sharia.
Yeah.
One of the purposes of Sharia is what? Making sure your mind is salim. Your brain is salim. You are, aware of what's going on. If anything overtakes that, you are not aware. And aware means this, putting everything in its correct place. And that's called justice. That's reality. Right?
It's interesting what you're saying. That the thing about balance is because, the what they call the four, virtues of man. Good character is only defined when the four virtues of man are, well, obviously which includes women as well, are balanced. So yes. It's when anger is balanced. When it's balanced is when it's not laxity and there's no extremity. So it's when it's in between laxity and extremity, it's what? Courage, anger. It becomes courage. When intellect is in between laxity and extremity, which is stupidity and trickery, it becomes wisdom. And likewise, when desire, it needs to be balanced.
Yes.
So the whole process of life, in one sense, is just to balance yourself. Because that the whole journey to God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is when you focus on your character, is to have that balanced personality. So the point, I feel like, of the discussion is to say that, look, just because you're not a criminal, just because you're not buying cocaine or you're not buying weed, or I'm starting from the least, that you could still be a victim of addiction.
Yes.
What do you think?
100% stuff. Look, That's the point here. That let me say something else with you. All of us have phones nowadays, and I've
Yeah.
already alluded into this, and we talked about this, right? Question: how much time do we give to it? Especially now with this whole isolation, all that going on. All right. And we've said this before, that when we talk about social distancing, we also mean social media distancing.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
What's been happening is that we become can't breathe anymore. Where's my friends? Where's this? Where's that? We can't let go. We need that hit. We need that hit. We need that hit. Right? Not, but that's also all immensely consuming.
And that's what one of the
Immensely
things that I
consuming.
do now is my part of my additional conditions of my fast is I don't want to keep my phone on me at home because I've got this watch that tells me if somebody's ringing, and I just leave the phone upstairs, and so I'm not checking it. I'm not checking any social media posts because that I think the fast needs to be. We need to fast from social media as well. We need that
Yes,
digital detox.
correct.
You know what I mean? And it's like what you're saying about the likes and all that. People don't understand that these platforms, they have been designed for addiction. Like this isn't your theory. This isn't your perception of platform. There's been research done into this. That they have done research that that they have people under the payroll in the sense of psychologists behind these programs, behind this,
Yes.
Facebook and all that stuff. They have psychologists behind this, and they design them in a way where it becomes addictive.
Look, there's a whole theory around advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole process of how advertisement works. You know, look at this. There was a whole study on why women they go for shopping. They'll buy a new bag, or they'll buy a new pair of shoes, or they'll buy a new dress, whereas they have already 50 dresses and probably 50 bags and 50 pair of shoes at home,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, it might have a slightly different color on it, it might have a slightly different streak on it, it might have a slightly different type of, fringe on it, or whatever it is. But what happened was they did like an MRI scan on some of these ladies. So what they done was they showed them pictures of different products, and this looked at what type of reaction that they are getting internally in their brain, right? So every single time there were certain women that reacted to this. This was predominantly a female exercise, female research that was done. Now, what happened was what they saw was there was a increase of dopamine, opioids in the brain when they saw a new bag or they saw shoes. So what advertisers have done is that they have gone into the psyche of us, how we work. They've
Mm.
gone to the bare, core of our feeling, desires, wants, and needs. Right now, once you tap into that, what have you got? Addicts for life.
That's it.
That's what it is. It's addicts for life. Now, when we talk about Ramadan, we talk about taking control back, don't we?
That's it.
That's what it is. Now, from that perspective, what are we taking control back from? From ourselves. That is why we give ourselves up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The way Allah wants us to be, that is how we are. We
That's
submit to his order, his hukm akam, his system, and his nizam.
That's what I mean. When people fast, that's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, many people will fast, and any only thing they'll gain is ju' and atash.
Yes.
Hunger and thirst.
Yes.
Because the point is to bring balance. Throughout the entire year, we are in this rat race, constantly bombarded with, social media and marketing and work and this and that. And we always need a detox. We always need to come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the problem is that we kind of bring those same problems of addiction into Ramadan as well. Food, okay, it's got to be a 5-course meal every day for iftar, right? You know what I mean? It's got to be this, it's got to be that. Alhamdulillah, I think one thing I've loved about this this lockdown, yeah, is bro, it's shown like how simple you can really live.
Yeah, man.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like you don't really need the things that you don't really need to go out every weekend. You don't really need to go out to the top end restaurants, or only can eat at the top end restaurants. You don't need to eat out every day. You don't need to. There's so many things that we're just living simply. You don't need to see your friends every day. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like you can live a simple life. Like so one of my friends rang me yesterday, and he goes today, and he goes, how are you? And I go, living the dream, bro. I come living the dream. And he started laughing. I said, look, no, I feel like as if I am, because why? The way I'm living now, at home with my family, doing whatever I can do with my deen, studying, books, communicating with yourselves, doing any da'wah work. This is like my ideal life. Like if we kept on going, if you said to me, why do you work? And I said, for money. And why do you want money? I want it for this. If we carried on going, it's like the story of the man, fishing. A man was fishing, and an entrepreneur said, why don't you get your fish? And he's relaxing and fishing. And then the entrepreneur goes, why don't you gather your fish and sell them and buy another boat and then gather more fish and sell more? And he goes, okay, why didn't you gather your fish and sell them? He goes, then what I'm going to do? He goes, then you can invest in more boats. And then he goes, then what I'm going to do? He goes, then you can get people fish for you and they will gather all that money. He goes, then what I'm going to do? Then he goes, you can do what you love. And he goes, what is? He goes, fishing. He goes, I'm doing what I love. So why do I have to go through the entire cycle? You know what I mean? Sometimes, the end money is just a means, and some people forget that. Some people forget that. But back to the point of addiction was that
No, one way you can tell that you are addicted to something is that, for example, if that's removed from your life, what happens to you?
And you know what? People do that. People do that with weed.
Yeah.
I know so many people, yeah. Bro, you need to get off that, man. And it's like, Saf kasme, I can leave it today, bro. It doesn't affect me. Okay, why do you leave it then? like, if it's something that doesn't affect you, then leave it. And if you yearn for it and you can't hack it, that means you're addicted. Do you get what? If you can't control that yearning, there's something going wrong.
That's what it is. The bottom line is exactly that. And now I'm speaking to myself, and I'm speaking to whoever's listening at this moment, inshallah, that look, you may say I'm not this and I'm not that. Try it. Remove something that you do all the time, right? And see how much control you really have. Because ultimately, that's the position you and I need to be in, Saf. That we need to have a little bit more control over ourselves. People are addicted to food. Because what does food do? It makes you feel nice. Once again, them chemicals are being developed in the happy, whatever they are. Now, but majority of some time is that you are feeling bad, you're feeling low, right? You're feeling depressed for 10 different reasons. It's the way you feel about yourself, right? Now, what do? We mask that. How do we mask it? We use depressants, we use suppressants, we use sometimes antidepressants, we use happy pills, one way or the other. People use alcohol in that way. Okay? Now, alcohol is an example of that. Like, people will use alcohol to do what? To forget their pains. But the problem is, once it is a depressant. That's what it does. It depresses it for a short period of time. It gives you control over your you feel that you have control over your feelings, but you're not thinking about that. You're not discussing that. You're not worried about your life, your work, your circumstances, your situation. I'm in a bad marriage, or I'm in a bad life, and I'm bad work, and whatever it is. What the hell am I doing? I have a few glasses, done for a short while. But the thing is, the day after, the headaches, the low after that is much greater than the high that you received the day before.
And then it just leads a more yearning. You want to feel like how you were feeling the day before.
That's right.
Because you're thinking you're feeling down today, but you're only feeling down today because what you took the day before has made you drop even deeper.
Now, but the thing is, if you didn't understand that, what happens is, because you felt happiness for a short period of time. In other words, you got pain. You've taken aspirin, you've taken paracetamol, you've taken some sort of medication which relieves you, right? Now, the next time you're going to have pain, what you're going to do?
Take the
You're going to try going back to that same medicine which would relieve your pain, right? That's what you're going to do. Now imagine this: if that substance that you are taking has adverse effect on your body, right? But for a short period of time, it gave you a buzz. It took you out of your pain. It masked all of the fears and the traumas of your life for a short period of time, right? What are you going to do? You're going to look for that. So by looking for that, you will go, when you feel like that again, you will go to get that hit. So if you think about the psychology behind this, it makes sense what we are doing. It makes sense because everybody has a right to feel good, feel nice, don't they? Of course they do. But the thing is, the question then is what are you using or imposing upon yourself to feel like that? That's that's the question here.
because if I could try to answer that question, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created natural things for you in your life that will release, give you that peace, will give you that, sakina, will give you that tranquility naturally for you, where it's good for you. I.e., obviously, Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, is it not by the zikr of Allah that your heart is tranquil? And
Allah
also,
bizikrillah tatma'innul qulub, yes.
spending time with your family, giving charity. So many people, I know so many addicts that is basically, okay, then answer this for me. So dealing with addiction, is it best to, like, for instance, jump from one addiction to another? So for instance, I feel good, I need to have a high dopamine effect. Yeah, if I don't get that, I'll feel depressed. So the way I'm totally against antidepressants and all that, man. Scientifically, there's a lot of research shown, that obviously it's not mainstream, but there's a lot of research done to show that these things are harmful, more than good. They have its benefits, but the harm sometimes is very high, and that's why they all, it's all, anyway. So
No, but before you go on, just on that particular point, it's important to say this, that even in the medical field, all right, around mental health and etc., when people feel like this, antidepressants, or we call happy pills, are given for a very short period of time, because there's long-term effect on the body, and after a while they don't work. Now, so even the professionals themselves are very cautious when that's given, and it's only given where an individual does not have the capacity to help themselves psychologically or mentally or physically or whatever. They can't help themselves. So to aid them, because I'm from that world, so I see that they get help. So what this particular medication does, it aids them for a short period of time to get to a slightly positive place, and then they let go and they build their own internal self, which will give them positivity, right? If you, for example, on the side are pilling yourself, on the side you're syringing yourself, on the side you're doing something else, then of course that's the area that we are generally talking about, that becomes over consuming, over exertion on your body, which will ultimately leave a very, very bad state of mind and heart and body. That's what's going to happen, right? But in the medical field, they're very cautious like this. All right, they would not give something for a very long period of time because they know that it will leave a very negative impact upon the body.
So would you say that the way to deal with it is what, replacing one addiction with another type of habit that is more positive than rather than negative?
Look, there is a process for everything. Do you understand that when one individual has become totally, completely fixated with something, they can't live without that, right? Their existence is difficult without that solvent, without that, ability to go and shop and buy that bag or them shoes, or oh yeah, that new technique, that tech device has come out and I need to go and buy it. Do you understand? Oh damn, that game's come out, I've got to go and buy it, I need to finish it. Do you know what I mean? That these type of feelings, engagements, right, is it's about how to control that. The idea is not to jump from one to another. Okay, people who have certain tendencies, there are certain people in the world that have a tendency to stay in extreme. So they could go from one extreme to another extreme and they feel very comfortable in that situation.
Yeah.
But that's not a normal state to be in, because normality demands sometimes you have just a chill time. You're not always going crazy. Okay, after hard partying one night, and if you did that continuously, and I'm talking about people who don't take ecstasy or those substances that give them high and they're buzzing. Okay, I'm talking about those people who have a normal function within their body without any substance in. They will able to do that maybe for 24 hours or 48 hours. After that, they're slumped because the body demands rest after that. Right? That's how that works. In the same way, so what you're saying is you go from one addiction to another addiction and to another addiction to addiction. That doesn't really deal with the underlying problem, because what the research shows and what we find is that with individuals who use certain type of substances, or who tend to become overly affected by a certain type of substance or certain type of behavior, there's an underlying other problem going on. There's something that they're not dealing with.
Yeah.
There's something in their life there's a loss of. Okay? There's something in their life that needs to be fulfilled. There's a vacuum that they are fulfilling or filling with something which is leaving a negative impact instead of a positive impact. That's what this is. Look, I've got guys coming in here. Alright. Wallahi, when I see them first time, they've come to the detox, wing. And oh my god, they have no color in the skin. They're not ready to talk to you because they're completely out of it, right? And then suddenly 2 or 3 days, 4 days go by, I go and see him. I go, oh, hello Mr. Johnson, how you doing? You alright? And he's like, yeah, I want to see you. Yeah man, come over here. I go and see him and he goes to me, I want to call my wife. I'm like, okay, you got a wife? Brilliant. Oh, I got 4 kids. Okay, wow. And then he's like, oh, I got this business and this and that. I'm like, the state he came in, I can't associate that with what he said with his mouth, because that's what it does to you when anything that consumes you.
Yeah.
Everything that consumes you, overtakes you, right? This is what it does to you. All you can see is whatever that some say, and you have to understand is the starting point is not negative.
Yeah.
The starting point is not negative. The starting point is usually I need help, or I'm feeling a bit low or something. I'll just get a bit of a hit and I'll be fine. I'll get through this hard patch. Let me sniff this, or let me take this, or let me eat this. Right? I get it. There are a percentage of people who just do it for a kick. That's a different story. But what I'm saying is that majority of people, they're not like that. They don't have them tendencies. Okay? And this is why, there's a whole system out there of support and help for people like that. Now, one thing we've not touched on is sexual addiction, for example. Right? Now, one of the areas, and especially within the Muslim community, this is a whole massive area of discussion, which should be a massive area of discussion on the basis of, type of things that are seen in the Muslim world, for example. Pornography and nudity and exposure of certain type of material, and or the overtly immensely consumed with all of that. Now that is a whole other area of addiction. Right? Why? Because it overtakes you. That's all you live. So you are always Like a catfish, you are getting out to get your prey. Right? And what happens is that turns into promiscuity. You go with one partner, then the second partner, then the third partner, and you're not satisfied. You get that hit. Oh, that was nice. Oh, you get another hit. Oh, that was nice. You get another hit. Oh, that was nice. So every single time you're doing that, you're getting your fill of pleasure, right? Or that exertion of dopamine or opioids and etc. in your body. You're getting that, but it's not continuous. So you go from one partner, second partner, third partner, fourth partner, fifth partner, and that happens. There are individuals who have this because that becomes an addiction over time. Now, but the thing is, they're not filled. They're not fulfilled as individuals.
Those type of people be very, very, very depressed. Like you can see problems, issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like even if you look into celebrities that kind of flaunt that, if you look at any backstories about them, they've got some serious issues. You mean, and it might be demonstrated in this world as that's a life to live. Unfortunately, do you get me? You know what I mean? That's a life to live. But people that live that life, they are not happy. You mean, very, very far from it. You mean, most people who live that type of life, they end up resorting to, even because whichever addiction, I feel like whichever addiction you go to, like what we said before, the barrier gets higher and higher. The threshold gets more and more until to a point where it's not doing it for you anymore. And then it's like, okay, what's next? Which drug is it next? Which drug is it that I've not taken yet? You mean, you can start. That's why most people that start off from possibly cigarettes. You mean, yeah, and then it leads to. But I don't think cigarettes is a happy hormone dopamine thing. But it leads to people who smoke weed, and then their threshold gets so high that they smoke weed, but they don't feel that thing that they used to feel when they first started to, because the threshold is just so high.
But nicotine does that, doesn't it? So nicotine is one of those substances that makes you feel good.
Or do they?
Right? It really, it makes you feel good, right? And that's exactly what it does. That's where the addiction element comes in, because it develops that. Going back to the same thing, it develops a certain chemical, once again, dopamine, opioid, in your body, all right? And you want to go back to it again and again and again and again. That's what it is. Why would you think about it? Look, let me say something to you. You eat, I eat, everybody eats. Yeah, you got to live, don't you?
Yeah.
When we consume food, the amount of muscles that are used is phenomenal. Our face, our physique, our body, we use all of the internals, the churning of the stomach, everything, but we don't feel the effect of that. We don't get tired per se. Why is that? Because in that moment you are getting lazza, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're fulfilling a nourishment or a requirement and need, right? But at the same time, you have all of these taste buds, you have the smell effect which impacts your food, and the nicer the substance is, the easier it is to eat. देखो अम्मा जी दियां निक्की निक्की फुल्कियां रोटियां दियां बनदियां ने हैं अम्मा जी ताजी ताजी बनाओ make them fresh, you make them fresh. कितने खा गए और 10 खा गए नाउजुबिल्लाह.
Yeah.
See what I mean? And all because it's tasty, it's nice, it's nice. But what you are doing, if you looked at the mechanism of eating food and digestive system, it is a very tiring process. But you don't feel it. Why don't you feel it? Because at that time, your body is also producing these same type of chemicals. And let me say this: we need these chemicals to survive. They're 100%. We're not there to subdue them, or we're not there to suppress them. We're not there to do that. But it's about in measure, balance. Because if you continuously oppose,
hence the verse, Kulu washrubu, eat, wala tusrifu. Not in excess.
That's it.
Not in excess. Subhanallah.
Not in excess. Not in excess.
It's just amazing how you can always trace back everything back to Allah and His Rasul, man. Honestly. And yeah, man. So it's interesting you're saying that, man. In terms of the food point of things, that so the point is that like we all can be suffering from addiction, and I think what you said before was the test. The test is that you put yourself in a test. What is it? You know what I mean? That you claim that you're not addicted to, then remove yourself from it. Remove yourself from it for a day, for a month, for Ramadan.
Test yourself. Test yourself. Are you on to you? Right? How many times did you think about that phone? Think about it. How many times did you think about it? I wonder who's sending me that message. Oh, who's sending me that tweet? Oh, who's sending me that Instagram picture? Oh, who's sending me this? Oh. You know? Test it. Once you test it, you realize, oh,
And then
it's something.
think about how many like distractions that is in life, man.
It's a
Like
lot.
for me, it's just like there's just no more quietude to get me. There's just like you've got to make an effort. I can remember when we were young, bro. It would having not been distracted was just a given. It was just a given. You can just sit in a room and just read a book.
Yeah.
But that today, nowadays, man, is very, very difficult. You know what I mean? And then the worst thing is, because of this being in this type of state, even if it's not an external distraction, you yourself, you might not even get a notification. Just check anyway. Check anyway. Go on Facebook.
No. But let me say this at the same time, bro. Look, the initial start with this is a positive one, right? Now let's look at this whole thing about with online and Facebook and stuff like that. The purpose behind it was to keep connected, right? That's where it started from.
Yeah.
At least the starting point is good. It's positive. Keep connected, keep people informed, engaged, and etc. etc. Right? So them are good elements in it. But the bad elements are what? You are now starting to engage with stuff which is useless.
Mass information, bro.
Mass information mass information which has no value. That over consumes you and I. We know about the world, but we don't know about ourselves. Look, in the Holy Quran, one is a beautiful example of how Allah Ta'ala and the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam put down a process of rehabilitation or detoxification. And in this case, because we have, for example, Alcohol Anonymous, right, which is a phenomenal, piece of 12-step process of removing yourself from alcohol. There's also now for drugs as well, similar thing, 12 steps to how to remove yourself from, at least the grip of these type of substances. There's something similar for sexual addiction. There's something similar for other type of addictions that are being put into place. Now, from the context of the Quran, because believers, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. Now, the Quran does something similar, but it does it in a 3-step way in this context, which can be, broken up and made into a larger number of steps. Now, in the Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 219, which the first time, what happened was Hazrat Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala anhu and a number of other Sahaba, they went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that alcohol is part and parcel of our society. It was part of Meccan society. In fact, historically, alcohol holds a very important part in most societies. But most societies, when they talk about civilization and having control of the mind, they always try to put laws in place to govern the consumption of alcohol. Right? They've always tried to do that. But until Ad-Din al-Islam, it was very difficult to control. Right? So Allah Ta'ala, the first thing Allah Ta'ala does is, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِسْمٌ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. Look, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala establishes something. They ask you, because the Sahaba came, they ask you about wine and gambling. Say, in both there is great sin and some benefit for people. This is Revolutionary. This statement is revolutionary because to acknowledge, it's easy to say, oh, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, isn't it? It's easy to say that. But suddenly you say, no, no, no. We also understand the benefit behind it. Why you are trying to do this. Right? You hear me out, bro, yeah? Why are you trying to do this? We get it. But then what does it say? And there is sin. Right? وَإِسْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِن نَفْئِهِمَا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established, but its harm is greater than its benefit. Right? Now this is highly important to understand. That the send Allah, what this particular verse started to do was, it started to create this sense. Okay, 1 minute. This is something that we do all the time. In our social setting, in our private setting, in our festivities, in times of joy, in times of sadness. Where's the wine, please? Bring it out. Which is drunk like water. And in the West especially, right, before they have clean water, alcohol was something that was used because it's much more safer to drink alcohol than water it was. Alright? That's how it's been consumed as.
Yeah, okay? Especially after the malaria issues and so on.
Exactly. As you know, so this is historical. So there are benefits, but it's its sin or its harms are greater than its benefits. Now, this is the first verse that comes down, right? Now, what this verse did, bro, is that it created a sense of acknowledgement in people. 1 minute. So there's good in it, but there's bad in it as well. Do you know what I mean? Self-reflection. Okay, 1 minute, I need to think about this.
And even now, if you look at these drugs, it's exactly the same in the sense of there are benefits. Look, you feel good or whatever. It's a benefit. Whatever type of it is, it's still a benefit in one sense. But the harms are way greater. You mean? And for me, that verse, there's just so much, it's eternal wisdom in it. Like,
that is.
Like a person, a man has to, a man, they have to have the ability to look at and assess the situation and say, look, it's beneficial, but its harms are greater. So I have to walk away. That's, a person has to have that ability personally. If they want to be successful in life, they have to be able to control themselves and first of all, make that assessment in the sense of, look, what are the harms, what are the benefits? And then when that assessment is made, and then you see that, its harms are greater than the benefits, you have no choice but to walk away. And
you do, but bro, but at the same time, bro, everyone around that person needs to also understand that. Okay, now what you are asking this person to do is to let go of something that they have become dependent on.
Yeah.
They've just about started to realize that it's bad for them.
Yeah.
Right? Now, you can't expect them to find out today and tomorrow to stop everything. You can't expect that at all. Look at this. The next verse of the Quran, Allah didn't expect that as well. He didn't. Still, people drank. Socially, they still drank. Those who got it started to look into the intricacies. Oh, this is bad for me. This is bad for me. Right? More health conscious people and stuff like that. And because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said there's more, sin than benefit, they stopped. But that wasn't the majority. The next step, what happened was, there was a Sahaba Ridwanullah alayhim who were in Jamaat. They were praying Salah. And in Salah, narration is that they recited Surah Al-Kafirun. And instead of saying, upon you is your religion, upon ours is our religion, they said, what is yours is ours and what ours is yours. Right? In the pronunciation, in the recitation. Because the person who had became the Imam was intoxicated at that time. Right? So this was the second step. Second step in helping people to remove themselves from this particular addiction. Because that's exactly what it was, a social addiction. That's what it was. Collective addiction, right, of society. But by saying, what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? Ya ayyuhal lazina amanu la taqrabu salata wa antum sukara hatta ta'lamu ma taqulun. Look what it says. O you who believe, do not go close to prayer when you are in a state of intoxication until you know what you are saying. Right? Now, how many times do you pray? 5 times. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying at least 5 times you should not be in a mental state where you don't know what the hell's going on. And naturally, if 5 times you're going to do that, then a period before it, period after it, you're not going to be in a state of intoxication, are you?
Yeah.
Right? This is called the slow process of detoxification.
Yeah.
Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows human nature. I can't ask them to stop. I've got to give them opportunity. Right? What this did, it started because people, they were people of salah, they were people of prayer, they were people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then another high percentage of people remove themselves from consuming this particular substance. Right? Once again, the wisdom, or the wise sound or voice that is coming into the heart of the mind, of course, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But from Allah's behavior towards his creatures, we should learn from that. We always look at, alcohol has become haram. That's it. But we don't look at the process. The way he done it is by understanding our nature. Because he knows what's being developed in our system. He knows dopamine is developed and opioids are developed in our bodies, right? These type of substances, chemicals make us feel good. So it wouldn't be easy to just let go, would it? It's a process, bro.
Bro, you're asking me like as if you know some bad stories about me, bro.
And I don't know nothing about you,
Listen,
bro. And then even if I did, I would never dare.
if I am brew, if I am brew, you know what I mean, is considered a drink, then man's getting tipsy every night, bro. Sorry, carry on.
No, you're right, bro. That's right. You're right. Alhamdulillah.
Yo.
Alhamdulillah. And the thing is, why I'm going to this is that there's a sense. It needs to be understood that there is a process for this. And Alhamdulillah, our Creator knows this about us because He created us. And the last straw was where there was a kickoff.
Yeah.
Right? There was a kickoff. People had drunk and they had said something about a person from another clan. They degraded him, dishonored him. Right?
I actually heard a Sahaba said something to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where the Sahaba, I'm not going to mention the name of the Sahaba, right? Because just out of the sanctity of the Sahaba. And but the Sahaba, if this was a class, I would have. But I think this is a Sahaba. We went to. He was drunk, and he was entertaining himself. At this point, and he was at a bar, and there was a woman at that bar, and she said, no, she was his partner, and the one that his right hand possessed, and she says, and then what happens is there's camels close by, and they start basically pooing outside the tent that he was in, this kind of little marquee he was in, and he was drunk, and this woman goes, "Are you gonna let these camels ruin our night?" So he walks out, and those camels are Hazrat Ali camels. The camels of Hazrat Ali. And what he does is, he kills the camel and rips his guts out. And this Sahaba is a warrior. And people have obviously understanding this. Some people have warrior mentality. This certain Sahaba, he used to wrestle lions, like warrior. And he would go lion hunting himself. He will go out and come back, from lion hunting. And he come back, and he's gone to this woman, obviously, tipsy with the guts of the Sahaba of the camel. And then Hazrat Ali comes and he says, "What have you done to my camels?" And he goes, "And what are you gonna do about it?" So, and this is a big Sahaba. So Hazrat Ali, he goes to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he comes and he sees the Sahaba with camel goats in his hands, and he goes, he looks at the camels of Hazrat Ali, and he goes, "What did he do? Like, what have we done here?" And he said at that point, he said something to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that had he been in a state of sober, it would not have been acceptable. And at that point, because what he said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it could obviously an additional reason. You know what we were already saying was that what we heard was that at that point it was like, you know what, now it's getting too far type of thing. And Hazrat Umar radiallahu an, he said it from the get go, like this needs to be banned now. You know what I mean?
No, he was one of the first ones who really went down that particular route. But the incident that is related to the Shan Nuzul of this, the purpose of the revelation of this verse, is to do with there was some Makkans of the Qurayshi tribe who were socializing, they were drinking, they were doing what they were, and they had eaten a certain type of meat, and he had one of them, he had thrown it out. He saw this person, all right, and he threw it, and it hit his head, right, and they kicked off, and they said things to each other, or the person who was intoxicated, or I said things to him which degraded him. Then that case was taken to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that became one of the main cases which became was the reason or the purpose of the complete ban of the prohibition of alcohol. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, doesn't he, in the next verse of that same of which is related to the prohibition, that this is the workshop of the shaitan, etc., and a number of things will be related. But then he says it's been done to do what? To create animosity in you, to create hatred through you, right? That's what intoxication and gambling does. And let me share something with you. 60%, this is last year's stats, bro. 60% of crime that takes place is somehow, some way related to alcohol.
Yeah.
Or in a state of intoxication. It could be alcohol or drugs. All right, some sort of substance influenced or under the influence of. Right? Now that tells you something. Oh, 1 minute. Now we're not saying, Muslim societies are, they're exempt from, this crime and thing. They get up to a lot of mischief as well. I'm not saying that they don't. My God, I can tell you that by numbers wise.
I hope you've not had any involvement or anything like that, my brother.
No, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil, Allah keep us protected in every sense, inshallah ta'ala.
I've never been.
It's good to
I just thought I'd make it clear.
Alhamdulillah, Allah keep you protected, inshallah.
Yeah, sorry, you were saying.
Allah give you, inshallah. Allah give you protected, inshallah. And everybody else as well. But now the thing is that here, my brother, look, is that Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad barik sallam, that it creates animosity, it creates hate. And the sad thing is, many times you don't know why you're doing it. Right? You don't know, you can't tell the balance, the difference between right and wrong, good and bad. And like we said, one of the maqasid of Sharia is what? The mind being in control. Knowing, ability to make differentiation between right and wrong, good and bad. Make sense of the world around you. And when you are in a state that you can't, right? A question was raised, I was reading Azabir Muhammad Pirzada Imdad Hussain Saab's tafsir, and in there he gives account of himself, because I was in London, I was giving a speech, right? And this lady asked me an open question, and the question was that this is a country where alcohol is sold freely. Why is it that Muslims don't drink? What's wrong with that? Right? So Pirzada Imdad Hussain Saab, he goes, one of my teacher, alhamdulillah, he goes that when you are driving, in which state you should be driving? Not in a state of under the influence of alcohol, isn't it? You get banned for that. True, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now he made a point, and he goes, yeah. She goes, yeah. Naturally, you won't do that under the influence, because you need to have control over your mind. You need to have control over your senses, and about your own safety and the safety of the of other people who are using the roads and etc. All right. He goes, that's not the only time you need to be alert. You need to be alert all the time. That's how much he had to say. He didn't have to say anything more to her. She goes, that makes sense. Just by saying that one statement. To make her realize that there are other places as well, at home, with your husband, with your wife, with your mother, with your father. How do you relate to them? We talked about domestic violence last time. There's a high percent, we didn't touch on this, high percentage of domestic violence that takes place. It takes place under the influence of substances.
Yeah.
Many times they come out of that state of doing something so harmful towards their partner. They go, oh my god, what the hell have I done?
Even sexual abuse, that even especially with students in universities, the statistics show that majority cases of sexual abuse cases reported especially in universities and stuff, when young people are under the influence of alcohol, that sexually assault other girls. You know what I mean? So what we'll do is we'll start to conclude it now, and I think, mashallah, I think you've given a very good insight. Remember this, and this is now for the people who are listening, is that we did this topic, or we did this talk, not necessarily trying to deal with people who have drug addiction problems, in the sense of if a person's on weed, if a person on crack or smack or cocaine or heroin, these things, 100%, those are issues that I don't think we can. We just don't want to have conversation for the sake of conversation. You know what I mean? And how we can talk about these things. We can talk about what processes each drug has on a person's body, but how's that a solution for people? It's not. Do you get me? And to be honest with you, we've got to be very careful when we talk about these things, because when we talk about, for instance, if we spoke about specific drugs, it can be triggers for people as well. Like if a person hasn't smoked weed for a long time, and we start speaking about the effects of weed on the brain, then it can actually be a trigger. Weed is not that, of a highly addictive drug, but then there's other drugs that can have triggers. Do you get me? And it can cause a bit of a situation. So we can't kind of steer away from that. But what we tried to focus on was on the common man. That's what we've tried to focus on. That we tried to focus on, like, you might be common person going to work, at home in this situation, and we may think that we're not addicted to anything. And our focus was on that listen, okay, you might not be committing a crime, but you may still be addicted to something.
Yes.
You mean? And that's what we wanted to get to today, in the sense of maybe, if there is a demand of people want, if there is people struggling from other types of addictions and they want a bit of an insight, give us a message, contact us. And then we can probably get, obviously, because Molna's speaking from his experience, I'm speaking from a bit of my experience, obviously not taking drugs, but dealing with people and, research and, educating ourselves. But things like that, you actually need, somebody who's actually going through a specific problem, you need to deal with them specifically. Do you get me? And we can't be very arbitrary and generic about things like that. If there is, a demand for that, then contact us, and then maybe we can get like a proper counselor, a person who, who deals with those professionally and specifically, and he knows, all the ins and outs about that. So that's why we wanted to deal with the common man, where it's not as, dangerous and sensitive in that sense. And so if you're us common people, that includes you and I, that we can have these problems in our life. And remember, the process of the journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is this, what Mullah Sahib was saying it is to bring this equilibrium, bring this state of balance in our life, in every single aspect. There could be nothing in your life. That's why I look at the traditional, they were like nomads, travelers. Nothing, just, they were nothing attached to anything in life that they can't, keep a balance from. So what is it, ask yourself, is it computer games? Is it, phones? Is it social media? Is it movies? So, and other Sab, Sab, I think you touched on it, and I don't think we went on it enough, was on pornography, sexual addiction, which is a whole discussion on its own. The effects of that, relationships are breaking down because of that type of addiction. People can't have an intimate relationship with their spouses because of being addicted to pornography. They don't, obviously, too ashamed to speak about it, or probably not got the energy to find help. So these things, they have to be discussed. And so it could be that type of addiction. So many different types of addictions out there. And start the process. Look what Muhammad said. There was a facilitated desensitization process by the Quran, for alcohol. And alcohol is one of the biggest, one of the highest types of addictions out there. And likewise, there's a process for everything else as well. You mean? And it can start off tonight. It can start off with dua.
Okay.
It can start off with
And
dua.
let me share. I think by giving this one example, inshallah, hopefully, inshallah, it'll put things in perspective. We spoke about some certain Sahaba Ridwanullah alayhim, and their state of being, or their state of addictions and alcohol and etc. There's a particular Sahabi Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam known by the name of Nu'man ibn Amr al-Ansari, rahmatullahi ta'ala. A great Sahabi, a Ghazi, right? One of the high-ranking Sahaba of Madinatul Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And one of the first Sahaba Ridwanul alaihim, Sahabis who took Shahada at the hand of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Madinatul Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's who he is, right? So he was with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in battles. He was with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in very crucial times. He was a joker in the pack. Very humorous character. He's a bit of a prankster as a Sahabi Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? He used to make the Prophet smile. He's that type of Sahabi of Allah Rasulullah ﷺ. But guess what? This Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who belonged to the Banu Najjar clan, he had a vice. His vice was alcohol. He was an alcoholic. Oh yeah. He had been given the had 3 to 4 times, but again and again. It is narrated that when the 3rd time it took place, and do remember, every single time you get 80, according to the ruling, is 80 lashes. Right? Now, the first time he gets caught, same thing. Second time he gets caught, same thing. Then the 3rd time when it happens, Hazrat Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala is standing there. And he says, La'natullahi alayk. May the wrath of God be upon you. Because he's sinning. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam was standing there. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam looked at Hazrat Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala and said, La tal'anhu. Do not say the wrath of God upon him. Innahu yuhibbullahi wa rasulih. Indeed, he loves Allah and His Prophet. This is very powerful. Our tradition is not based upon looking down on people. Our tradition is about picking people up who have fallen. It's a vice. You're doing wrong. It's a guna. But we don't hate them. We don't hate you. We still love you. Because you are ours. We don't want you to go through harm. We know you're addicted to some sort of substance. We know you're addicted to maybe pornography. Maybe you're addicted to alcohol. Maybe you're addicted to some other stuff, whatever it is, which has overtaken your life, yeah? But you are ours. If the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could not bear sending wrath upon a friend of his, companion of his, even though he was a sinner, doer of wrong, in the same light we cannot bear. Because we are the ummati of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for anyone to say something to you as well. Because we are of the same tradition. Let me share with you. I want you to know how many people Muslims take help from these facilities that are out there, because there are Muslims who are addicted to alcohol, addicted to drugs, addicted to these type of substances. I don't care who you are, you are Muslim or non-Muslim, help needs to be given to you. But I'm talking because we're talking on this platform. Our problem is we don't access them helps and support. We're too worried or concerned. What are people going to say to us? Ya wallahi, I'm going to be blunt with you. If I'm the person on the other side, may Allah protect me, and Allah give me the strength to never ever look down upon you or look at you in a way that you are less than anybody else, because you're not. You're not. You are the ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You are the beloved of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because you have said La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. I want to finish on this particular verse of the Holy Quran. قُلْ يَا إِبَادِيَ الَّذِي أَسْرَفُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that Allah says, say to my servant, O my servant, who have transgressed against themselves, who have done wrong, who have done sin, who have done crime, لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله. Do not despair of the mercy of your Lord, man. Don't despair. إن الله يغفر الذنوب جميعا. Indeed, Allah will forgive all of your sins. إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Indeed, He is the all forgiving and merciful Lord. This is our Lord. You've done wrong. You've taken substance. You've harmed yourself. You've hurt yourself. Get some help. You are our brother and sister.
Jazakumullah khair for that, Sheikh, and Jazakumullah khair for everybody for listening. I think we're just going to conclude it there on the last words. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.